Hello and welcome to this workshop on digital productivity. We're going to be talking about what digital productivity means to you, but also looking at some of the tools that can assist you when keeping on track in the digital world. This session will not cover things like well-being and diagnosis of a disability, starting with what digital productivity is. Digital productivity is how you use your digital skills to get things done. Can you choose the right applications, the right devices, software, systems for a task? Are you confident in using productivity tools and services provided by the uni or your work organization to get something done? How well do you cope with allotting time to various tasks and keeping on track? You'll probably often hear the phrase, technology is changing a lot, or something to that extent. And that is true, but what does that really mean? Well, we only have to look to the recent past to look at something like AI, generative AI for example. Things are always being introduced, whether that's a new application, a new program, and we need to look at how we can not only adapt to those, but also how we can better suit ourselves for that when that comes in the workplace and tailor that to what we're doing. Some things like social media or even like a new game can cause the feeling of being overwhelmed with a lot of information, and in some forms and some cases, it can even become an addiction. A great example of this is during lockdown. A lot of users migrated over to TikTok as a platform, and even though it was released in 2016, it has become such a fast evolving and one of the biggest interactive platforms in the last decade, as it's designed for not only short form content to engage with users and keep them watching and scrolling, it can create this loop where you get distracted for possibly minutes to hours at a time to consume a lot of short form content. Some of this can be really addicting, and it's designed in a way to keep you on the app and not doing what you need to do. So what are some of the benefits of being digitally productive? Well, the benefits of ensuring that you are maintained in a well-productive center is that you retain focus and you can concentrate on your efforts on various different tasks that you've allocated to yourself, while not feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, or distracted. I'm going to break these down into 4 points, but there's a lot more that builds into the digital productivity. So I'm going to start with time management and efficiency. There are digital productivity tools such as task managers, calendars, reminders that all help individuals organize their day. It can help you prioritize tasks, manage time more effectively, and ultimately, and hopefully, more importantly, allow for a better balance between work and personal life. Things like organizing digital files, emails, tasks can really help you reduce mental clutter and stress, and really help you become more organized and also lead a more peaceful environment when you're working. If we look towards using digital tools to help us set and track goals, it can also help create a sense of progression and achievement while also maintaining motivation for personal projects as well as self-improvement. And lastly, we can leverage digital tools, productivity, that can help improve our digital literacy skills, which are valuable in many aspects of life. So what can we do to help us become more productive when we have a task that we need to achieve? But maybe our phone, computer, or any type of device calls out to us to get our quick fill of dopamine. Well, if you have noticed this, then you're one step towards laying down the rest of your foundation. Let's first look at tool management. Now, there's lots of different tools that you can use, and some of the great ones is just a very simple one like using the Outlook calendar or a to-do list that's built into Microsoft, which allows you to set various aims and objectives, as well as reminders just on what you need to be achieving by the end of the day, also breaking your day up as well. Sometimes you might not need to achieve a task in a day, maybe you want to complete it towards the end of the week, maybe a few weeks down the line. Just setting these up in your calendars, but also giving yourself a chance to breathe and recognizing where you need to set some boundaries is such a great place to start. one of the new applications that might be interesting to take a look at is Goblin.tools. Now, this is an AI platform, but what this allows you to do is it allows you to break down an overall task you're trying to complete. Sometimes the challenge in itself can be understanding what the task is actually asking you to do. So there's different ways that we can be going about this, and Goblin.tools is a great way of breaking down a task into a more digestible tick list. So, for example, I can type in, what should I do to create a PowerPoint or deliver this workshop, for example. And Goblin.tools can generate me some ideas of things that will help me progress towards that aim. I can break it down really simply, or I can also develop it a little bit more complex. It won't exactly tell me what to write, but it'll definitely give me some foundations and some activities that can help me form and build into that task. So, give Goblin.tools a try. It's definitely worthwhile just playing around and seeing what it can do. Another great place to start is Microsoft Project. Now, this might not relate to your educational studies right now, but if you are in an environment where you're working in a group project, or even just looking towards developing your skills post-education into the professional workplace, things like Microsoft Project is a great place just to get a feel for why you're here. And if you're not studying with us, it's also a great place just to play around to understand how it all works. Essentially, it's an application that allows you to take the tasks that you're working on and distribute it out to different people. You can break these down into certain months, but also certain departments. You can assign it to certain people. So if you are working as a team, it's really great just to segment these tasks out to different individuals. And it's a good way to track how a project is being planned, but also how it's developing as well. Now, there's different variations of this app that you can use. The one I've suggested is Microsoft Project, just because you will have some form of this with your university license. But you might also want to try a program like Trello. It works very similarly, and just play around with it. Maybe assign yourself a research task, or maybe you've got a group study, and just try and assign some people some different tasks and all come together to develop an idea. A great thing to mention, especially with Microsoft Project, is that all of these deadlines get assigned to your Outlook calendar. So you'll see them populate in there along with any other meetings that you also have set up and created. Now, a very important thing to mention is time blocking and management. A lot of these tasks can take up a lot of time, and generally what we'll see is someone's calendar slowly populate with all of the different things they need to do. It might be I will start looking at my emails in the morning, then I'll do a little bit of work, then maybe something will happen on social media and I'll take a small break. But then I'll go back to my emails and there's this big issue that's popped up, and then maybe I'm going to be in a meeting and so on, and you can see how fast your timetable and calendar gets filled. Now, a lot of studies suggest that the human brain can take a while to get back on track once you've got into something. Generally, this varies between 5 to 30 minutes. However, it can be longer for different individuals. What we've got on the screen here is a time blocking exercise that can potentially help you just reduce some of that clutter and also give your brain a lot longer to process something and really understand and get involved with that project. So instead of breaking down the day into lots of different tasks, which my brain will have to ping around and do lots of different things, think about blocking just certain times for certain meetings. So, for example, we've got client proposal, emails, social media, lunch, meetings, and then prep for tomorrow. Now, as you can see in the time blocking example here, these are blocked into certain time periods, which don't run over to different areas. And this can be such a great way just to really improve and impact how you manage your projects. By blocking in that time, nothing else can touch it, and it really allows you and enables you to focus on just that one thing. It also helps that your brain won't get distracted by that random email that's popped into your inbox that you might be very conscious of. By allowing you just to focus on one project, you remove all those distractions and you allow your brain just to get focused on that area. Thinking about that email then, there's a lot of distractions that comes with being digital. Maybe it is that email notification, maybe you've had a buzz from a notification from your phone, or maybe you're just really thinking about this random YouTube video that is 4 hours in length and you're desperate to watch it. How do you combat this? Well, a great way is to use something like a timing system to block that period just for you to focus on work. So we did mention in the previous section that time blocking is a great way to combat this, but sometimes that doesn't work. So we have to think about what we can use instead to help support your work-life balance with your life balance as well. So sometimes we need to think about ways to help you support your work-life balance, okay? So let's think about some of the mental health and physical health things that can just help you progress in this area and stay productive. Notification management systems on your phone can help lessen distractions and keep your mind on track. On Microsoft products, if you hover down to where the date and time is in the bottom right corner, you'll be able to press on there and you'll see a little bell notification in that menu. That is your do not disturb. It will block out all of these distractions. Maybe you get a Facebook notification, and there's something similar on your phone as well, and they can really help just keep your mind on track during an activity. Maybe think about taking small breaks between different sessions, but also think about blocking time out to do certain things on your Outlook calendar as well. We did mention this in the time blocking section, but it is really important that sometimes maybe you should schedule in a break just because you know that your mind tends to wander, and giving yourself just a small break can just help you get back on track when you come back to work later. One application that I really like to use is the Pomodoro timer. Now what this allows me to do is it allows me to trick my brain into giving itself a little reward for completing a certain amount of time blocked into a task. The idea behind this is you work for X amount of time, give yourself a small reward in the form of a short break, and then go back to that time to lock in again. So what you can do here, and I've put these instructions on the screen, but there's also a great website that you can use as well. Choose one task to focus on. Mute your notifications, set yourself a timer. Now Pomodoro has two versions of this timer. There's a 25-minute version or a 50-minute version. I recommend using one of these and then do your work in that time. You won't have any notifications on, you'll just be working on that one project. Then you'll hear the alarm go off after your 25 or 50-minute work session. This is where you take a break depending on which time scale you chose. For 25 minutes, you take a 5-minute break. And then for the longer sessions where you're working 50 minutes, you take a 10-minute break. You can repeat this as many times as you want, but I find it's a really great tool just to help me keep focused. I know that I've got that 5 minutes that I can start browsing TikTok again, but I've got to get through these 25 minutes of dedicated work. It could be such a powerful tool just to really help trick your brain into doing something productive without all of those distractions of the digital world. Now, common challenges. I'm going to talk about some common challenges here, and they normally loop into each other in some way. So the most important thing to talk about is the over-reliance on these tools and over-scheduling of your day. While, yes, everything I've mentioned can be really helpful and really useful, there's going to be a point where you might overuse something and it can cause just as much harm as if they weren't used in the first place. For example, if you're time blocking and you're planning yourself to the minute, what happens when you go over? Do you get more stressed? You've got to think about all these things, okay? So these tools ultimately are here to assist you, to help you keep on track. But remember that things can and often will go wrong, whether you run over a meeting by 5 minutes, or maybe you've got to go and take an extra little bit of break because you may have burnt your lunch while trying to make it. Make sure that these plans and things that you've put into place, they are flexible to what's happening in the real world to allow yourself some breathing room. Most importantly is to remember to schedule in some breaks, not only to help you reset, but also helps you take a moment to reflect on the work you're doing. I'm going to talk a little bit about my optician, just because I am a glasses wearer, and she gave me some really sound advice, and it does fit with the Pomodoro technique as well. She recommends 25 minutes of working with the screen and then a 5-minute break where you stare at something at a long distance. This not only helps protect your eyes against blue light, but it also helps you with your distance. Often our eyes get so used to working up close to a device that they often struggle to refocus afterwards. So be sure to take these small breaks just to really help improve your health of your eyesight. Another challenge is distractions. This can be a massive problem, especially when you have lots of different social medias that keep pinging you. This could be a notification, it could be an application that calls you to a different device like YouTube. So be aware of what you're interacting with and potentially set limits on applications as well. Try not to multitask. It's easy to have two screens on your monitor, but are you multitasking and do you need to multitask? Remember that notifications can be turned off or limited during times that you are working or busy. Now, one that does sound a little bit silly, but will ultimately help you with your workspace is keeping your workspace decluttered. Sometimes an area can seem overwhelming. Maybe there's just way too much stuff. You've opened your computer, you've got lots of different files saved to your desktop, and it can cause a little bit of distress. Some people say that a clear space equals a clear mind and will allow you to think and reflect on what you're doing. Now, this doesn't just fall down to your desktop. This could also be things like tabs on your browser. Maybe you have millions of different tabs that maybe one day you'll get to, but do you need all of them open? If you're going to refer back to them later on, or maybe you've got a few really important tabs, be sure to bookmark them or add them to a list to come back to for later read. This will not only help you feel less overwhelmed with everything that's opened, but it should also help speed up your device. Having lots of tabs open and lots of applications uses a lot of your computer's resources, so closing those down will free up memory for your computer to perform faster. This also applies to the area where you save things. Often, if items are saved to a general file or desktop, they can get lost as more and more files are saved there. Instead, dedicate some time to creating a space where there is organization, not only to track your projects and items, but let's say if I ask you for a document, if it's all organized and structured, you'll be able to find it a lot easier than going through every file on your desktop. Organizing your files also gives you a chance to save them to the cloud for easy and accessible collaboration with other students. One thing to consider is developing your growth mindset. Growth mindset itself is looking at a problem that you might have, reflecting on it as a new challenge or opportunity to develop your skill set. Sometimes you might see a problem as something to avoid or steer clear of, but often it's something that can benefit you by giving you a chance to develop your skills that you might have not used before, or develop a new skill. It can improve with practice, effort, and curiosity. Why does this matter in digital productivity, you might be asking? Well, as I mentioned previously, digital tools and systems constantly change, whether that's with an update or workflows changed, even new technologies. If you have a growth mindset, you're more likely to try out some new tools, fix tech problems that you're facing, reflect and adjust your digital habits over time, and more importantly, build confidence. Even if you're not so techy to start with, having the growth mindset allows you to start developing these skills to help you overcome that and become more techy. So let's think a little bit more about developing the growth mindset. Start small, learn one new feature in a tool. I've mentioned some really good tools that you could use right now, such as Goblin Tools or Pomodoro. Maybe give one of those a chance. Make sure to celebrate progress. When you've noticed you've improved on something, even if it's just organizing your emails or folders better, make sure you celebrate that. Ask for help. If you're struggling to find something on Google, whether that's related to tech issues or maybe something like a cooking book, be sure to use things like forums, tutorials to help you develop in that area, okay? You don't have to struggle silently. There's lots of different avenues to access help. Expect mistakes. Don't let tech frustrations stop you. Mistakes, more likely than not, 9 times out of 10, lead to learning. You'll always be able to reflect back on what you've done to develop. And reflect often. Think about the end of each week. What's worked well this week? What could I improve upon? What could I streamline to make better? So I have an example here for everyone to take away from today's session. It's very quick, but it can be quite a very useful skill. This is just forwarding your emails to another email address. Okay? Now I'm going to post this in a university setting, but there's different ways you can use this too. If you head over to the settings cog on Outlook and scroll down to email and select forwarding, here you'll be able to forward your university email to your private email. So every time an email lands in your university email, you're then able to see that in your personal email as well. It can just help if you don't want to go between different sources of your emails, because that can get overwhelming the more emails you have. So it can be such a great little tool just to be aware of. Now that is the end of today's session. I hope you found this useful. There's lots of different resources that you can access over on our LibGuides page, whether that is in relation to digital productivity or any of the other digital skills. Please be sure to head over there and give some of those a read.